Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Waynesville's Profits Unlimited coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We got a drippy day going here. I don't know what it's like where you guys are at, but I know one thing. I'm just a little bit tired of the rain, but that's okay. That's okay. We can't do anything about it, so let's don't sit here and cry about it. It is what it is. Got a little bit of work done this morning. Appreciate our crews getting out. And I don't know. Well, we got about 2.5 hours of production, so we'll see. It beats nothing, and yeah, appreciate our friends from BAM Weather as always, giving us good, solid advice on what to do, what not to do, and how to do it. So I want to give them a big shout out. Appreciate that, and again, it's a big shout out to our crews as well, getting out and doing what we can get done. And because that's all we can do. We A for effort and deal with the weather. That's what we're going to do. So there you go. I hope you guys having a better start to your Monday than we are with the weather wise. But other than that, we had a good start off, good kickoff to the week, and just much as we want to moan and groan and cry a little bit about it, doesn't do any good. I know one thing's allergies are bad, 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 man. And but hey, that'll get better with a little bit of rain that we're going to have off and on today. Looks like this last round will be in here about an hour or so. So we'll see how that all plays out. And hope you guys had a great weekend. Had a good weekend myself. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty daggone good. Had an opportunity to get the Mustang out a little bit and drive around. Got a little sun on my face. Got a little sun on my arm. So that was good time, good trip. And took a little ride Saturday as well. So it was a nice weekend. Too bad we couldn't save a few of these hours. Save a few of those nice hours, for today, but we can't do anything about it. I mean, that's just the way it goes and the way it is. So, but yeah, I had a good weekend. Yesterday, something kicked my butt. Started about the second half of the day, and but when last night, and I was like, man, feeling pretty rough. But I don't know. Overnight, it got better. So, just a little temporary stomach bug, I guess, is what it was. But yeah, feeling pretty good. Almost back to 100% today. So got a great show planned. We're going to have a special guest on with us today in about 5 minutes, Mike Newland, and looking forward to having Mike on with us on our show. And other than that, it's just going to be another good week. We're going to make it a good week. It's up to us to make it a good week, right? I mean, to half empty, half full, or where's the glass, right? Is the three perspectives we can have as things go along. So that's where we're at, and I hope you had a great weekend. Looking forward to your all's interaction today. I know Mike would love to have some questions on what he's going to talk about as well, but looking forward to that for sure. So I don't want to get into Mike's whole bio and itinerary. I'll let him tell you about that. But Aaron Walls had a great show this morning. Had a gentleman on with Massey Ferguson, and Daniel's show was outstanding as always. And here we are up to show number 3 of the day, Profit Time, and it is time. There's always a good time for Profit Time. That's right. So I want to give everybody a shout out that listens to us and live and also on our podcast. The podcast numbers are crazy high for our station. So we appreciate all of that and appreciate you guys sharing it and share the channel. Keep sharing the channel. That's what it's all about. That's our goal here at Turfs Up, is to help elevate and educate the industry. And we do it one contractor at a time. And we'll start with yours. And when we start with yours, that means you help me. And when you help me, we all do better. So if we do better one contractor at a time, the we all elevate to another height, and that's the way it goes. So, anyways, good morning, Seth. Appreciate you listening. Good. It just says it's a good day to be a duck. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Oh my God. Well, we did get a little bit in. Seth, curious, how's it down your way? Did y'all get a little bit in, um, or you not had any rain yet this morning, or you throw in the towel early on? I know it's a lot of different areas experiencing different things weather wise, but this one's kind of sneaking in from the south and the east, so it's moving north and west, which is a little bit unusual. So, but I don't know. It seems to be pretty normal this year. We've had a lot of this, and I know one thing. I'm ready for it to stop raining. I know I get Matt, my buddy from BAM, on Wednesday with us. We're going to have to figure out what he can do to slow some of this up. But we've had more than our fair share, I'd say. So Aaron says it's raining where he's at too. He said, let's see what he's got going on here. Let's see. Aaron said, might as well get some New Balances shined up, waterproofed. Yeah. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, get them New Balances warmed up. Get them warmed up. I got mine on. Y'all know I got mine on. I don't know if you all hear it or not, but I might need to get a little technical advice here from Daniel. Hey, Daniel, I need a little technical advice over here. It sounds like I got some music in the background. We're looking for a great show today, and looking forward to getting Mike on with us. So, Mike, if you want to give us a call whenever you're ready, we are ready, my friend. And looking forward to getting you on with us here on Turfs Up Radio this morning. And Mike comes to us with an extensive background, so I'm sure he's going to be excited to share that with us and pick his brain a little bit. And I know in talking with, let's see, here we go. Wait, let's see what we got going here. Mike, you good?
Yep, I'm ready.
Awesome, man. Well, we are live on Turfs Up Radio. Appreciate you calling in, and looking forward to having you on today, my friend. So
good deal. Thank you very much.
Good deal. I'm going to do just a very brief intro, and I'm going to let you handle the rest, if that's okay.
That sounds good.
Awesome. So we've got Mike Newland with us. He's the Director of Agriculture Business Development, Propane Education and Research Council. That's a mouthful, Mike.
It is. It doesn't fit on business cards very well, to be honest with you.
I can believe it. I can believe it loud and clear. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your background, if you would. I think it'd be better than me reading your bio, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. So, so I've been with the Propane Education Research Council going on 7 years already, and I think you mentioned agriculture, business development, and so that's really where my background's come from. I've been in the ag space for going on, I hate to admit this, probably 27 or 8 years professionally. So that's what I've done most of my professional career. The mowing space is a space I take care of at PERC as well, and I'll just use the word PERC when we start talking about the Propane Education and Research Council.
Yeah.
So I do the mowing space also, but also the other small engines. So we do a lot of business in the concrete finishing world, the scrapers that are, in Walmarts or in the big box stores, scraping and changing floors out and polishing. We do a lot of small engine work there, all on propane as well. So those are kind of the markets that I take care of here at PERC.
I got you. How'd you get into that? How's a fellow get into propane education?
Well, I'll tell you, it's probably but as much dumb luck as anything. I think I probably need to tell you more about PERC. So
okay,
PERC is a unique organization. We don't sell anything. So I tell people that my job is to give away money, and it's harder to do than it actually sounds. You would think that job is pretty easy, but I spend money for a living, and but a lot of it's on marketing, Some of it funds product development. So we actually make some investments in private product development with companies, and we do that on, gosh, anything from a new mower that might get developed to a heater for a livestock building, all the way up to on-road truck engines. So we'll invest some money for the industry, for the propane industry, and so I guess now's the part where I answer your actual question. So
Yeah.
I got involved in it. PERC is a checkoff program. If anybody out there has a tie to agriculture, you may know what a checkoff program is. But it's like the Corn Growers Association, the Soybean Association, the Beef Council. All of those are checkoff programs, and PERC is a checkoff program. At its core, what we do, though, is we are funded by the industry, and we've got very specific tasks that we complete for the industry. So we do all the safety training for the industry. So anybody that delivers propane to you at your house, you at your business, all have the ability to be using our training modules on safety. So that's the first key thing that we do. The second thing we do is consumer outreach, which in layman's terms is marketing. All the trade shows that we attend, all the print media you may see, or we actually ran some Olympic ads last year. And then the third thing I've already talked about, which is we invest some money for the industry and development projects to come to market. So
now, do you guys provide? Excuse me, Mike, just for a second. Yeah, from the education side of that, in training, do you guys do like contractor education for like commercial businesses, or is it more of larger groups where you go to like a GIA?
No. Nope, absolutely. So for our example today, what we're talking about, or soon to be talking about, mowing. If anybody would get started with propane in their mowing, there's modules on our website that are free to use for the business owner and their staff to learn about, the safety side of propane, how to change cylinders on your mowers, all the best practices. So all that stuff's there. We develop it for every market, and it's free to use, and that's part of what the money that we put into action goes towards. So all those things are free, and they're there for the industry to use as they see fit.
So me as a commercial landscaper, if we implement propane, for an example, you guys have the training modules that can help us understand it and help our staff understand it. And
absolutely. Yeah. As a business owner, you could go in and say that my crew need to know lessons, A, B, and F, and assign those to those guys. And our system will allow those folks to go on and only see those modules, do it, complete them, and then it tracks it for you. So and you've got a record then for all of your staff that they've been trained properly, and you can produce that whenever you need to provide documentation to your local state. Or
well, I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself with you talking about that right there. Is there anything as a business that I need to do from a regulatory standpoint? Well, if I say, hey, I'm going to implement propane zero turns or propane forklifts or propane, whatever that may be, is there a certain level of where do I come to you all to find out what I need to do as well?
Well, I think the best thing to do would be to contact your local fire marshal. They tend to have jurisdiction. And we find, because we're a national organization, so everywhere that we go, there's different rules and regulations. But the commonality is the fire marshal should be the person that can help you with that and make sure that you're compliant.
Right.
So if you would make that decision to switch, we encourage people to make 2 phone calls. One, I think, is to the local fire marshal. The second is to find a propane marketer. So if you don't have a propane marketer today, and you may already, you may be out heating your shop with it or something of that nature, that'd be easy. But if you don't have propane at your business, there's a way on our website to go to propane.com. That's our website. And you can actually type in, find a marketer. You put in your zip code. It'll show you everybody that's selling propane within your local market.
You know, that
We
does work easy. That you know, you're exactly right. I know just with the propane source that we have here. Uh,
Yep.
I mean, they are in business to sell propane, but I will say that they're very good at service as well. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
we can tell them, hey, we need to get 8 tanks switched out or 10 tanks switched out, and it is nice having that relationship with somebody.
Absolutely. I think that's key for this to work really well. You got to have a good relationship with your local marketer. You know, they need to know how many mowers you're running, how many hours, all those types of things. And then they're going to get you into a scenario where it is either they're going to bring you filled cylinders and just trade them out for your empties. They may put a cage at your facility if you're burning enough propane, and then they just show up and have access to that cage. So you always have full cylinders. They could fill them on your site. They may bring a delivery truck there and fill your cylinders there. Or in some cases, we've got a lot of larger companies that have a bulk site at their place, and they're filling their own cylinders. So
I'm sure that requires a lot of additional training, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, that's exactly right. All those folks that are touching that would need to have training, and we've got all that training on our website as well. So, it's really dependent upon are you brand new at propane in general, or do you have an existing relationship? Then once you get into the business side and using propane to mow, how much are you doing? Are you running? How many machines are you running? How much?
Right.
How many hours? What's your volume going to be? And then that'll really dictate how your local person's going to handle that. And fill cylinders, drop full ones off, or if you're big enough, like I said, you may talk bulk plants and you filling them yourself on site. And what that does for you, it gives you the flexibility to have full cylinders as you need them. Also may open up some buying opportunities for you in that regard if you're taking large enough loads. So there's pluses and minuses to all those a little bit, and just that local person's going to help you walk through it and think through what works best for you.
How many contractors, and not exact number, but I mean, are you seeing more and more contractors going to propane? Because I know it's been what I'm trying to when I talked to Leah a little bit and we were talking about this.
Yep.
I got to thinking about it. Seems like it's been quite some time since propane was introduced to our industry. From
it is.
zero turn.
It's been a while. I would say it's one of our mature markets, meaning we don't see a lot of new innovation in the space. I would answer that by saying it ebbs and flows, and typically we see it ebb and flow with the price of gasoline. As gasoline gets high, we tend to see a lot more interest in propane and new companies starting with propane. If gas is relatively inexpensive, we see the same numbers. We don't lose any usually. Once people get started with propane and see that it works, get past all the stigma of, I can't stop on the corner and fill it up.
Right.
Fill up my cylinders. And, I think people like that safety net if they're running gas or diesel, that they can stop at any convenience store, get a Gatorade and a few gallons of gas. But once you get to that point and you know how to manage your fuel and take an extra cylinder with you on the trailer, most people are staying with us, no matter what the price of gasoline does relative to propane.
Now, are most of the contractors using propane? Are you seeing them? That was going to be my question, and you just kind of answered part of it right there. That they're staying with it, regardless of the price of regular gasoline or diesel, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to use names of contractors, but we've got a contractor that's probably a top 25 in the country that runs nothing but propane, and in fact they run it on their trucks that they're running their crews around in as well. And I tell everybody that company, I don't know what would have to happen for them to leave propane. And I say that because they're a company that does a lot of bids. They do a lot of municipality work, and fact that they've got a clean alternative fuel listed in their contract bids, I think really helps them get work.
Well, that was going to be a question I had as well for you. How much feedback do you get from contractors that say, "Hey, this allows us the opportunity to, market that we are a cleaner company, if you will."
That's and everybody's doing it. So we get a lot of feedback, and reading the tea leaves on the ones that don't give us that direct feedback, we watch the contracts that they're winning, and I promise they're talking about a clean fuel.
Now, you hear of companies talking about, Mike, of the contracts that the people that are in search of these contracts, not the contractor, but the municipalities, let's say, that they're giving preferential, not treatment. That's not the right word. Consideration, if they are using a clean fuel. Do you see any of those contracts across the country?
Yeah, it depends on where you're at. And most people, and I think you're exactly right, I think they get scored differently if you're using an alternative fuel.
Right.
The one thing that, and people listening may not know this, but the government has indicated that propane's a clean alternative fuel. And, when you look at us versus electric, I'll just back up. In every chance I get, I tell everybody that propane's the cleanest combustion fuel, cleanest commercially available combustion fuel on the planet. And I talk about that because everybody wants to talk, especially in the on-road sector, everyone wants to talk about hydrogen. And hydrogen, to me, isn't commercially available. Maybe it will be in the future, but, you can't go to a Flying J or, anywhere and just fill your hydrogen tank. It just doesn't exist. And I would argue that propane in some instances is cleaner than hydrogen because hydrogen has so many different levels of, I don't want to call it refining, but for today, let's just call it refining. It's how that hydrogen is produced and gathered and where all that feedstock comes from. There's different levels of cleanliness, if you will, of hydrogen. So even if it does come to market, there's a better than average chance we're going to be cleaner. Propane's going to be cleaner than what's commercially available. So yeah.
How much of the pushback would you say is from a contractor's perspective, regardless, not just landscape contractors, just anybody who may be considering switching over, to more propane as an alternative fuel? How much pushback do you guys see from the lack of knowledge when coming up with excuses, I guess is my point. A contractor says, I'm scared it's going to explode. I don't want to have special placarding. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
How hard is it to convert that mindset, I guess?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And that's a great question. I think you can always find a reason or an excuse not to do something. And if that's, if you don't want to do it, and if your cute crews are pushing back on you, I guess that's a discussion maybe between the owner and the crew. But all those things are very overcomable. If we can get into a direct conversation about the safety, if we can get into a direct conversation about the best practices for handling a little extra fuel on the trailer, we can usually work our way through that.
Right.
And from a safety perspective, most people don't know this, but we propane transports about 1.5 million kids to school every day on school buses that run on propane. Yeah. Most people don't know that, and
I had no idea. I had no idea. Right. It's kind of like flying, I guess, in an airplane. You're scared it's going to crash, but at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of people that move all the time on airplanes daily.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think the fuel's the same way. It's just another way to make an engine run, and I think that's the thing that if we can get past it. I think we'd have a lot more mowers running on fuel because the fuel is amazing. It burns cleaner than any fuel. You'll have less carbon buildup in that engine. We can't tell you to extend your service intervals because we don't want to mess with somebody's warranty.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the oil that comes out of a propane engine It looks much differently than the engine coming out of, or the oil coming out of a gasoline or a diesel engine.
Does it really? That's
Oh yeah,
interesting. And
absolutely.
what do you think is causing the less wear and tear on the machine?
It's
The
just
motor of the machine.
it's yeah, it's just a cleaner burning engine, and you don't have all the carbon buildup associated with it. So,
Gotcha.
um, yeah, so I think there's some awesome benefits. I think there's some awesome maintenance things that we could talk about, and folks, if we want to talk battery, that ship may have sailed a little bit here with some recent changes, but
Right.
we didn't see a huge uptake. There was a lot of chatter about battery in the commercial mowing space, but I don't know that those units really materialized like some folks thought they could. But even if we look at propane versus the electric grid, because you have to charge your electric mowers if you've got them,
Correct.
propane is actually cleaner than 38 states. There are electric grids in 38 states. What does that mean?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, because they both seem like they're pretty clean power, but is it what's created to charge the battery?
That's exactly right. Electricity doesn't just magically appear at your outlet. So you've got to create it somewhere and transmit it. And, I live in Ohio, just north of you, and I know how our power is made. We've got a lot of coal, everywhere through the Ohio valleys, all coal plants up and down the river. And so in those states, for sure, propane burnt at the site is cleaner than the electric grid and the power coming out of the wall. So we've got all that modeled. If you want to get into the weeds on that, it's at propane.com. There's a big white paper there. You can read all about it, how the power is made in each state and what the carbon intensity is of all that produced electricity.
And that was propane.com?
Propane.com.
I'm just writing that down for our listeners too.
Absolutely.
If you guys got any questions at all, feel free to text us. I think we're treading on water, Mike. That it takes a lot of people out of their comfort zone. Quite honestly, And
yeah, I think it does. It's gasoline. I'm the same way. I mean, gasoline, diesel, it's easy to come by. I can be anywhere in a matter of minutes to fill up a truck and fill up a mower, and it just takes a little more planning. And I think that's the safety net that I talked about earlier. Is you just can't swing into a Speedway on the corner or your favorite Buc-ee's and fill it up. Well, actually, Buc-ee's you probably could fill up your propane cylinders, but anyway.
The point's well taken. Yeah.
The point is you do best economically when you're filling it up with your local guy or filling it up out of the propane you've already got bought at the back at the shop. And that's really what you want to make sure you're doing. So.
I got you. And it's funny to hear you talk about excuses a little bit that contractors use. And I run into that a whole lot with, I also do consulting, and they have a company called Profits Unlimited where I do business consulting, and I have since 1990. And a lot of companies have a lot of excuses on why they do things a certain way and don't really understand what it costs them to do the job. And then when you sit down and you explain the methodology, it's kind of like maybe what you guys run through with propane. Once somebody hears it and sees it, then they can understand it. But until then, you start making a lot of different excuses for it. And I think that's one thing that I say our industry, but I mean, I'm sure it crosses many industries, I'm sure, when it comes to the pain of change. It's hey, we get in a comfort zone with gasoline and diesel. Now propane came along several years ago, and at first it was, now got the application, the expense application was crazy, but now it's not. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, we danced around it. Some reasons why somebody would want to change, and we really hadn't talked about the prices. So let's go there for a second.
Yeah,
so
if you don't mind, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any mower, gasoline mower, can be converted to propane. They tend to like to do it as a brand new machine, but it doesn't have to be. Years ago, you may remember, or the folks listening may remember, there were a lot of offerings from the OEMs on propane. You could go to Toro had them, Exmark had them, some others had them.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. How many of the major manufacturers are in the game now?
Well, today you can go order a John Deere from your John Deere store, but it's a dealer installed option. So it comes from the factory as a gasoline unit, goes to your local John Deere dealer, and before you pick it up, it'll be converted to run on propane. So that's the one that you can still order from the factory, if you will. The others have gone away from it, and it happened during COVID when they were struggling just to get engines of any kind in gasoline, and most of them just dropped that propane SKU. So they just went back to a gasoline and letting the conversion companies deal with getting that unit running on propane. And we've got some great conversion companies, people that have been in business for decades. The conversion kits are EPA and CARB certified. So there's a few out there that haven't gone through that expense, but the folks that we promote on the website, they're CARB and EPA certified kits. And those kits, depending on the model and their engine and model specific, they may cost you $1,000. I think the high side is around $1,500 to convert a mower.
Okay.
And right away, everybody's saying, "Gosh, why in the world would I want to do that then?" Well, I think there's some reasons. The first being, you get a control when you buy your propane from a cost perspective. Propane ebbs and cycles throughout the season, and it's pretty predictable, to be honest with you. It gets a little more expensive in general terms. It gets more expensive when we're heating homes and heating businesses with propane in the wintertime, and gets more inexpensive in the summertime when all those houses and commercial buildings aren't running heat any longer. So their supplies tend to be the best in the summertime. But what that does give you as a business owner a chance to do, as opposed to your gasoline and diesel that you may be buying now, is you can go out and buy a full year of propane when the price is right, just to be delivered upon your schedule. So you work with your local propane supplier and say, "Hey, I'm going to need, X amount of hours on each mower. We're going to burn this much per mower, per hour. Here's our calculation for the year." They'll help you figure out how to purchase that and be the most efficient that you can be.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah,
I hate to interrupt you. Can I just put you on a brief hold for a second, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. I appreciate that. We will be right back with Mike Newland, Director of Agriculture Business Development, and I'm going to say maybe more importantly, propane education research, because I think that's our holdback. So it's great to have you on with us, Mike, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. All righty then. Welcome back to Profit Time here on Turf's Up Radio. I got Mike Newland with me. Mike, you still good?
I am good.
All right. Mike, if you're just tuning in with us, Mike is the Director of Agriculture Business Development and Propane Education and Research Council. And Mike's got a whole lot of experience, to say the least, in it. He certainly comes to us with a lot of knowledge, 20 plus years in the sales field, if that's correct, right, Mike? And
it is, yeah. He does.
And he understands propane, to say the least, and he's sharing that knowledge with us today here on Turf's Up Radio. And Mike, before we took our break, you were getting ready to talk about consumption and early ordering propane, and that whole thing. What kind of consumption? Looking at it from a mower side for a second, and then we'll look at it, from a vehicle side. You take I don't want to say normal, because I know mowing's different, and mowing heights and wet grass and the power supply. It's kind of like they all don't burn the same amount of gasoline. But,
right.
What size fuel propane container do you normally see on a zero-turn mower? And how many hours of use can a person get out of something like that?
Yeah, so great question. So what we tend to see is pretty much a gallon-to-gallon burn rate with gasoline. Yeah, you're essentially trading a gallon of gasoline for a gallon of propane. And so on a mower, you tend to see 33-pound cylinders, which is an odd way of saying it. But a grill cylinder is a 20-pound cylinder. So if you've got a barbecue grill, that's a 20-pound cylinder. A 33-pound cylinder, if people would probably be familiar with the size of cylinders that are on forklifts.
Okay.
That's the exact same size that you'll see on a mower. There is a big difference, though. Forklifts run liquid propane into the engine. Mowers, it's a different cylinder altogether, and it's vapor coming out. So it vaporizes, and it goes into that engine as a vapor. So just technical changes. That's the only difference. It's the same size cylinder that you'd see on a forklift. The mower cylinders are vapor cylinders, and they tend to have a green ring around them. So when you see we call them a green top. It's got green paint on it. That way it indicates that it's a vapor cylinder and not.
I had no idea. That's something I learned today on propane. Yep. I'm sure there'll be a lot more, but I had no idea. Because like I said, we've got our forklift, and I'm very familiar with it. We've had a propane forklift for a number of years, but I had no idea that it was different. The inside could be liquid or a vapor, basically. I mean,
yeah, that's right. You don't want to put your forklift cylinder on a mower.
What's a gas grill run on? Or is that liquid? Or
it vaporizes it. So when it's super hot out, if you're pulling a lot of gas out of one of those 20-pounders very quickly, there's times you'll see it ice up. Yep, that's right. Or on the outside, you can at least see the condensation, and that'll show you the level of propane on the inside of that tank. But that's a vapor pull. Yep, so it's a vapor pull.
Now, when you say a 33-pound cylinder, what does that equate to in gallons?
Oh, gosh, why did you ask me that?
Well, I mean, like a 33-pound cylinder is going to run my, let's look at it this way. Is that going to run my ZTR all day? You know, like a 6-hour day or an 8-hour day? Or
it will. Yeah, yes, it will. It will. You bet. In fact, we've got a mower that we show off a lot at shows. We had it down at Equip Expo with us. And we've got a new John Deere, and it just has a single 33-pounder on it. There are kits, certain models you can put a second 33-pounder on a zero turn, which would get you a lot of fuel for a long day, or probably I would think even 2 days worth of work. So maybe pushing a half a week's worth of work if you had two 33-pounders on that zero turn. So
how scared does a person have to be with that much propane? Any more scared than riding on top of 10 gallons of gasoline? I mean, we've almost come to accept the fact that we're riding on gasoline and don't even think about it. But then we want to say, well, God, I don't want to blow up with propane. You know?
Yeah, I know. Everybody's pretty comfortable with that explosive gasoline in a plastic tank.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about all the time when we're talking about school buses.
Yeah.
That our system is the safest fuel system you can put on a school bus, because it's all the crash ratings that we have to prove on our cylinders. And it's the cylinder. Cylinders are made that shape to be strong. And I don't think the two of us could go out and damage a 33-pound cylinder if we tried to. And so you've got the gas contained inside of a steel cylinder, and it's going to stay there until it comes out and goes into the engine. I think, that's an honest question. I think that a lot of folks who aren't around it on a daily basis, that's a legitimate question that we need to answer honestly and help them understand the engineering and the logic behind it.
You'd mentioned the mowers producing fuel emissions, or just propane in general with fuel emissions, and from a sustainability standpoint, what are you kind of feedback are you all getting from mowers, from contractors utilizing mowers with on propane versus gasoline or diesel, just as a comparison? The number of hours that they're getting out of those things compared to what they're getting out of them using a regular gasoline fuel.
I mentioned, they're paying attention. Like I said, some of those big fleets that are running, that contractor that's in that top 25 nationally, they pay attention to how many hours they can run.
Right.
They're getting an extra 500 to 700 hours out of each of their engines. I mean,
that's almost a season. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
well, I mean, based on
they just,
somebody's company size.
that's right. Yeah, and they just budget that they're going to get that, and I think they track their maintenance. Their maintenance is less. Their uptime is higher with the fuel as compared to gasoline. So I don't think there's a downside from a maintenance standpoint to running it. And we haven't even talked about the most obvious or the really the hook in the whole story. Um, Most people will budget $1 less per run hour on propane than they will on gasoline.
Okay.
So we talk all the time about saving $1 per run time per machine on our fuel, and that's just a function of what we were talking about before the break. You can lock in your pricing when it's advantageous for your company. You can work with your propane marketer, and when propane becomes a little more inexpensive throughout the season, you talk to them and say, "Hey, this is how many gallons I'm going to need throughout the season. Can we lock it in? It may cost you a little bit of money to lock it in. Typically, you don't have to make the entire payment for the whole year of fuel, but it's normally they've got prepay options for you, and you work with them and you kind of tell them what you're working towards, and they'll help you find an opportunity in the market to do that.
Let's just say just today, gasoline versus propane, per gallon. Are they do they normally run pretty close then, or as far, or pricing wise?
Well, it depends on. I mean, I hate to say it depends, but there's about 3,000 people in the country that sell propane.
Okay.
So you see wide variation. And I guess I'll talk about the extremes. So the extremes would be, you pull your RV into a Flying J and need to fill up your propane cylinders. I've seen it $4+ a gallon. And then I know farm accounts that burn 150,000 gallons or more through grain dryers in the fall, and those guys are spending less than 50% of that. Sometimes significantly less than 50% of that other price. So it really depends upon your volume, your ability to make good decisions on when you want to buy. And I think that's where the opportunity comes from, a great relationship with your local propane supplier to talk through that and tell them what you're trying to do early in the season so they can help find that buying opportunity for you.
All right.
And I think consistency, if you find a good marketer and you're with them and everybody's getting along and they're getting you the service that you want, you seem to be buying pretty well from a cost standpoint. As that relationship becomes stronger, I think you probably see that they treat you maybe a little better on price, or at least they'll watch out for those opportunities and call you and say, "Hey, we haven't talked about it yet, but I know you're going to need gas for this many gallons for the next 12 months. I see an opportunity for you. Maybe you need to think about it, in the next day or two." And I think that's what comes from having a great relationship, is being able to identify some of those advantageous opportunities for you in the market.
Well, a lot of the pushback from the battery side with contractors was power, right? Inconsistency of power.
Sure.
With propane,
longevity.
Yeah, is there any issues like that with propane, or is it just is it like running gasoline where, hey, if you're running, you're running. If you're not, you're not.
Yeah, that's right. It's the same engine that's going to be on the mower, just with a conversion sitting on top of that same engine. So if it's running, you will see very comparable power. In fact, propane's got significantly more octane in it than gasoline does. So I would say you're going to see at least the same amount of power. And I don't want to say that you'll see more, because I think but from an octane standpoint, from a science standpoint, there's more energy in propane than gas.
And we don't have to worry about the ethanol, right?
No, and it's going to start. It's going to start. That's the one thing. Our fuel never degrades, and there's some applications in some other markets. That's a big deal, because we talk about fuel that might sit in the tank for more than a year at a backup power facility. and it never degrades. So when you hit the key, it's going to start. We in our school buses, the further north you go in the country, we tend to see more and more propane for that very reason. Minnesota runs a lot of them. When the temperatures get crazy cold in Minnesota, the propane buses start and the diesel ones don't. So it's easy starting. Fuel doesn't degrade. You can't spill it, and it's non-toxic. Even if you do somehow have a little bit of a release or something like that, it's non-toxic, doesn't contaminate groundwater. So from an environmental standpoint, it's a great fuel.
Is it? And that makes really, really great sense. It really does. I didn't even think about that side of it. I mean,
and I hate to think about this, but I'm sure you got a lot of business owners listening, and so I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but gosh, occasionally some gallons of gasoline may not be able to be accounted for.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough for anybody to take home a few gallons of propane at the end of the day. So,
right.
That's one thing that we talk around the edges a little bit.
No, that's right.
I hate to talk about gallons of gasoline being stolen from anybody, but I've been at businesses where I know it happens, and that opportunity just doesn't exist with this type of system.
Right. And yeah, that makes really, really good sense. And to your point too, Mike, I believe that 100% as well. It really is, and you eliminate the opportunity is what you.
That's right. You hope for the best, and you hope everybody's employees doesn't do that. But you're exactly right. You just take that off the card. It's not an opportunity at this point. So that's one of the unspoken benefits of our fuel.
Is there any special licensing that let's say Wayne's Lawn Service decided today that we were going to implement propane fuel, for our zero turns? Do we need to secure any special licensing or placards or before we transfer over, or is that a fire marshal question?
Yeah, I think it's probably a local jurisdiction question.
Okay.
I would encourage if somebody's seriously considering, I think that's really the first call I would make, especially if you've already got a good propane relationship. I mean, it's kind of 1A and 1B with your finding a propane marketer that you like and getting a hold of all the local codes and thinking through things like that. Because, 1075 is the placard that you'll see on on all propane equipment. So if you see a semi-transport going down the road and 1075, that's propane and that's semi. So you're probably going to have to placard a few things, depending on the volumes. I even caught myself when I said you're going to have to placard some things. It's going to be probably dependent upon your local jurisdiction and the volumes you've got on board. You may or may not have to do that. So, but get with your local folks. It varies by state. It varies by municipality within the state. And we just want to encourage everybody to do what's the right thing for your local market. And if you need help with that, if for some reason you just can't figure it out, or the local folks don't seem to be able to answer that for you, reach out to us at PERC. Reach out to us at propane.com. There's a way to get a hold of us. We've got an 800 number that goes into our office, and they'll distribute the calls as needed based on your topic. And we've got people on staff in our safety group that'll definitely help you out if that's something that you need a little assistance with at the local level.
Good deal. Now, I remember initially when the concept of propane on zero turns, hit the market, the commercial landscapers market, there were some tax incentives, for the conversion. Is that still going on? Are they still, having, hey, a cleaner running machine, we're going to give you some tax incentives for this? Is that, what do you know about that end of it?
Yeah, there's been a couple times that PERC's actually offered some incentives. We're not currently offering incentives on mowing equipment. There are some state propane gas associations, so check with your state propane gas association to see if they are. I think you're in Lexington, is that right?
Louisville. I'm in Louisville.
Louisville, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to start
no, you're
rivalry by calling the wrong
you're
thing.
good, man. I'm one of the weird ones that it goes either way. I'm either way at that. I'm not crazy either way.
Okay. So I think the state of Kentucky does offer, the State Propane Gas Association does offer an incentive. So you'd want to check that out. And then I would get with your accountant to see if there's something that this would qualify for at the federal tax code. So I don't think that there is right now, but like I said, I'm not a CPA.
Right.
But I would encourage you to check with your CPA. You know, you never know these days what there's a credit for, and I'd hate for you to miss out on an opportunity. So I'd get your CPA on that too.
Good deal. And I've got one other question. I'm sure you've probably been asked it, but in the past, but it just hit me actually. Do you see an opportunity for propane in the on the handheld equipment side, like backpack blowers or things like that? Or you think trying to get something small enough? Because what made me think about it was actually the little small cylinders that you use on a gas grill. Some of those, they're not that heavy. I know the cylinders can get heavy, but they're not that heavy. Has there been any discussion across the market about that?
Occasionally we'll see something, somebody's got an idea to do that or incorporate. And the ones you're talking about, I think they're 1-pounders. They're just little barrels that look, you can pick them up. I don't think so. Could we get to that point? I guess we always could. To be honest with you, I go to the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute, OPEI, and I go to their annual meetings, and I go to some other things through them. And I know there's a lot of great tools like that, backpack sprayers and trimmers and things of that nature that the battery ran.
Right.
And I don't know that we could ever be that efficient. From those tools and those batteries, they're pretty cheap. Where the cost comes from zero turns and stand-on the mowing side, is battery technology is fairly expensive. All that small battery technology is running off of the same probably battery packs that your DeWalt tools are. And that stuff's cheap. It's pretty efficient. And I think that market's really probably going to be dominated from here out on the battery side. And probably, it's like I said, it's efficient, it's cost effective, but it's cost effective because of the battery types and the volumes that they're making of those same batteries for the construction industry and all kinds of things. So when you get into the bigger battery technology, and that's, the bigger batteries for mowers, if people paid attention, there's been a lot of push. The last administration was pushing for electric school buses. They were giving out huge grants on electric school buses. And it's the same thing there. They're just cost prohibitive when you get into batteries of that size and scale from a cost perspective. And I don't expect that the school bus market going forward is now that those tax incentives are gone away, I don't think you'll see a lot of new battery powered school buses for that very reason.
I gotcha. That makes perfectly good sense as well. So, as we wrap it up, Mike, I've got one question, and then you can wrap it up how you want to on your end. But my final question that I've got for you is, contractors listen to this and they say, you know what, maybe I do want to look further into propane. What would you suggest as our first step to get started? Get onto your all's website, or what would you think?
I would. I'd go to propane.com. There's actually a cost calculator that you can take a look at what your purchase price of a new machine would be. And it'll show you what you'd spend in gasoline or diesel versus running propane. And I'd go to propane.com, just use a little search line at the top and put in mowing calculator and play around with that. Like I said, the second thing, I think you probably need to talk to your local propane marketer if you don't have one. And the next call, if it's not the first one, is your local fire marshal to make sure that you're doing things right from the get-go. It's a whole lot easier to do it right the way they'd like to see it done first instead of trying to backpedal and put something down the road. So,
I love hearing you say that, Mike. I really do, man. Because when we first started treating lawns, dealing with, herbicides, pesticides and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah.
I reached out to the Department of Agriculture here in Kentucky.
There you go.
And I said, I need you guys to send an inspector out to our site. We're going to start treating yards. And all of my competitors that I knew, they're like, are you crazy, man? I said, well, if I invite them in the first time, I did my due diligence for you guys to tell me how to set this up, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I think propane could be the same way. Hey,
yeah.
let's do it right the first time. Let's don't guess. Let's don't go to Facebook for advice. Let's go to the experts. And evidently, you guys have got the educational resources to help us. I just hear it,
And just remember, we've got the safety training for you. If that's a move that somebody wants to make, we've got those available to you for free for you and your staff. And if you run into any hiccups along the way, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll get you with our safety crew, and they can actually help walk through maybe a conversation. Maybe that local jurisdiction is not dealt with propane, and we've got experts on staff that can help with that conversation as well.
Well, good deal, Mike. Hey, I appreciate an hour of your time today, my friend. And
absolutely great to be here with you. Thank you.
Appreciate you getting on with us here on Turfs Up Radio. And if anybody has any questions, I'm sure again, just propane.com, and Mike and his team will take care of you, right?
That's exactly right. Appreciate everybody listening in. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Bye-bye. All right. That was Mike Newland, the Director of Agriculture Business Development. And he heads up the Propane Education and Research Council. So that is definitely the guy that can give you the solid advice that you need on propane. And I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I do remember initially when propane, it was kind of like when they started talking about battery powered equipment, when the whole thing on propane started. And check it out. I mean, it's an alternative fuel. It's a cleaner burning fuel, emissions from, listening to Mike here. And the reality of it is, when you look at the longevity and the being more efficient on the motors, of the equipment that you're running it on, and you're getting better lifespan out of your motors too. So I think it's should be under consideration. It's one of those things. Don't just say, oh man, it was cool listening to him, but we're not going to do anything with it. Hey, maybe you don't today. But the reality of it is, maybe it needs to be in your mindset of, hey, yeah, that can help us. Maybe that is a direction we can go in a cleaner, easier fuel, and have the ability then to sit and market that to your customers as you're a company that cares a little bit more. I'm not saying you don't care for using gasoline and diesel. I'm just saying there's opportunity out there when we start talking about better fuel alternatives maybe. And to Mike's point, you can sit down, figure out the number of hours of use you've got on your equipment, do some early order or pre-order on your propane based on, hey, I know I'm going to be running this many hours a year on this many accounts. You got to put your thinking cap on a little bit. You know what? You got to put your thinking cap on to run any business. But if we take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. And that doesn't matter if it's thinking about propane or thinking about any aspect of your business. Appreciate you guys being with us today. Again, thanks, Mike. If you're still tuned in with us, we appreciate you getting on here with us. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge with all our members and listeners. And as always, stay safe. And remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Wednesday.